Hello everyone, I am Yash Bhatia from BrandCommunion. Today I've been delighted to join someone who works at the intersection of marketing, storytelling, communication in a very unique manner. Please welcome Dr. Ashish Kaul. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Yash. Thank you.
He has held a senior leadership roles at Hero Reality, Z Entertainment, and many more. Today will be joining us to talk about the Festive Dialogue series. I would like to start with you first to understand that you have held so many positions at so many organizations. At every organization, what it got taught to you at a senior, to learn from at a senior leadership lens, like what did you learn from them?
I think the best lesson that a good professional must learn is the uniqueness of every organization. Irrespective of what you have learned, irrespective of the experience that you have earned over the years, irrespective of the number of years that you've spent, you must always accept that every organization in India is unique, it is different. Every organization has its own deliverables, it has its own objectives to achieve the same thing. So I think that is the fundamental lesson, that you must be open to understanding that every organization is different.
Sure. Talking about the festive marketing, I think as festivals are coming, festive marketing is becoming very big in India. You have worked across so many industries for so many years. What do you think that brands are doing right, and what do you think that brands are doing wrong? If you have to give one key points to them.
I think, again, as I said, India is a very different market when you look at the mass market products. So the approaches are very different, especially during festivities. We have an urge and rather, let's say, social compulsions often to buy things, and which are connected with the religious beliefs as well. Suppose, for example, buying of gold during Diwali and Dhanteras, and buying of utensils on the other festivals, buying of clothes on New Year's and Baisakis and all of that. So I think what happens is that most of the times that in an Indian context, if you want to drive volumes, then the pricing becomes very critical. So you will see newspapers and mass media is full of slashed prices. So there will be a culture of go brand. So you buy one product and perhaps two products will be pushed for free. There will be a 50% off because you want to offload volumes. So I think, but in the long term, that's not the right thing to do. It is only offloading the volumes. So, in the Indian context, there is a huge number of buyers who only buy things because it is sasta. Something is offered free, but that's not really building a consumer brand. That's not building a marketplace for yourself.
So you have talked that festive shopping has always been relied on heavy discounts and sales, but I also want to understand that will that only be matter in a future run, or a brand should also focus on long-term brand building during this season?
This is a debate.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is there are 2-3 things that come into play.
Yeah.
Especially in the Indian context, there are 4 different seasons.
Yeah.
So, especially if it's a clothing brand.
Yeah.
So, please understand that for a clothing brand, the cycle will be of just about 90 days.
Yes.
So, by the time your summer is over, then you will always be planning for your autumn, and before the autumn is over, you will be planning for your winter. So this also happens for your personal grooming products. For example, the skincare products, the shampoos and creams and moisturizers and all of that. So it's a $1 trillion economy that works on that. So the pressure is always on the sales to sell more.
Yeah.
But then what kind of products get sold?
Yeah.
People buy products, and therefore these are the products who are really cheap in the literal sense of the products, where you can imagine if a product is discounting by 50%.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the kind of margins. So he would be operating on nearly 400-500% margin over there. So if he's selling it to you for 100 rupees, so that means actually the cost of the product would not have been more than 20 odd rupees.
Yeah.
But good brands that have a place in somebody's life, which are a part of your journey, they don't do that, and they should never do that. Exceptions are always there. But from the Indian market, the consumer market is clearly divided into two. One market heavily relies on seasonal sales, where brand loyalty is very less, because you walk into a modern trade and you see where you get the maximum discount. Brand is taken care of by the retail provider. So, for example, if you're walking into, let's say, a Reliance store, you're walking into a Tanishq store. So you assume that the branding is percolated down to every product, which actually is not right if it's a multi-brand store. Unlike it's a company owned and operated and only company products are sold. So I think, as I said, there are two different approaches. So it depends on if you are a company that simply wants to dump products into the market, pricing takes that message forward. So that's how Indian market really works.
But I would like to understand, like you have worked, but if a brand is just starting now, maybe a D2C brand, which could be in like a fashion category. So the focus would be to get the ROI, but also to build brand so that it could actually position themselves at a level that you could not get compete. For them, how does the festive marketing play a role for them? Do their focus should they just be on the ROI lens, or they also need to look at a brand building, because that is a time where a lot of consumers are also shopping. So it gives an opportunity for a brand to see a lot of consumers. So how do you see that for a young D2C brand maybe?
No, I think that's where the problem lies with Indian companies, which is why you will see, if you were to consider, for example, the new startups. India is the mecca for startups. It's the biggest ecosystem for startups. But it is, the fact of the matter is also that almost 98-99% of the startups fail. Why does that happen? Because you confuse a marketing strategy for a good consumer experience. The ultimate consumer experience is the product in itself. If you have compromised on the product, if you're simply selling a product basis the pricing advantage, you will, because in India we largely believe that 18-20%, rather 22% of the consumers give an opportunity to a new brand. And if you're walking into a multi-store environment, you will always pick up your purchases will have an element of 15-20% of the things that you actually didn't want to buy, but you will buy. But that doesn't mean that the buying gets carried forward. No. Ultimately, when the product is consumed, that's where the real marketing begins. In India, the problem is that it's a heavily ATL oriented market. Heavily mass media is optimized, and you bombard the consumer so that he buys. But then he's not really buying. That is just the cost of your business development, perhaps, because the second buy is not going to happen.
The repeat consumer won't come.
And especially in this marketplace, the price point, unless you're looking at certain premium products which are in a higher range, but let's say for sub 1,000 rupee brand, you will see there is rarely any repeat percentage. There is minimal, because people just use them once and then they don't come back because the products don't deliver. Which is where you will see that Indian markets are very different from the, let's say, who is our neighbor, the Middle Eastern markets. They work very differently. There is no similarity between us and our neighbors. The most difficult market, because I've headed those companies in FMCG sector there, the most difficult market is the Middle Eastern market. Unless your product can do what it says, they will not allow the product in the marketplace. Imagine what would happen to an Indian company, which is why a vast variety of Indian products are banned in Middle East. And they are iconic brands in India. Because what happens is that the volumes are so large that it just simply works. And our legislation in terms of FMCG products and the mass market products, we are a very sloppy nation when it comes to rules.
Do you say that when you talk about Middle East, so do you say that the quality control and a lot of the brand, that's why they are not able to sell it, the volume? What do you explain the volume particularly?
Middle Eastern market, if you see, it is a buyer's market. They don't go by this go-go strategy. The go-go strategy over there also, you'll find most of the Indian brands only doing that. And it's very rarely if there is a surplus, if there is a product that simply, sometimes companies have a large pipeline. So
Yeah.
they need to, vacate the pipeline for those products, and therefore they offer. Sometimes, what happens in, let's say, iconic chains like Carrefour and all of those. So they will announce that for next 30 minutes. So this is a 20% off on this
Okay.
particular
Time
category.
bound thing.
This is a time bound thing. But then the kind of quality that they have is iconic.
Okay.
Some of the greatest brands who have been successful even in American markets
Yeah.
fail in Middle Eastern markets because they don't qualify. So the biggest standard that we believe in FMCG and everywhere else largely is the European Union standard.
Yeah.
It is the most stringent standard.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have seen that even European Union standards fail in Middle East.
Okay.
Some of the iconic automobiles in the world
Just to
have
add on,
failed in
just to
Middle East.
interrupt, when you say quality standard for the viewer, does it mean that the kind of product that they deliver is not up to the mark?
Absolutely, it is
Okay,
not up
in
to the
terms
mark.
of
Yes.
quality. Okay.
Now you see in Middle Eastern countries, for example, in automobiles, what happens? So you will have, for example, a Humvee, which is an iconic brand.
Yeah.
Hummer, who doesn't know
Yeah.
Hummer? It failed in Middle East, miserably failed.
Okay.
But the Land Rover is considered to be a national car, but then it is not the Land Rover that is available everywhere else in the world. This particular model is specially made in Middle East for the Middle Eastern
Okay.
markets, because what happens in Middle Eastern countries, because it's essentially a desert. So the desert carries through the air, and it creates a problem with the engine.
Yeah.
And therefore, the traditional cars which are made in Europe or in America, they don't have that problem.
Yeah.
So they failed in Middle Eastern markets. So then they realized this, they innovated. Now it's the same brand, it's the almost same pricing, but the product is different, and that
Okay.
product is made for that particular market, and people swear by that.
Yeah.
It has the highest repeat value. You will have a wait list for those brands. Even the second-hand cars are phenomenally successful there, because and people swear by that brand.
Okay.
They don't advertise, for example. They don't offer any discount.
Yeah. They play on the card of quality.
Yep.
I just want to understand, you have bring advertising. Festival is a time where you see a lot of advertising, particularly in India. It just focuses on the family, togetherness, gifting. Do you think that the festive marketing is particularly becoming repetitive? And is there a scope for brands to find a fresh narrative?
Absolutely. As I always say about India, it works both ways. One, you will see during the festivals, people now have started postponing their purchases for festivals or for seasons, because India is essentially, 70% of our market is mid-segment market.
Yeah.
So people plan ahead.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I have to buy an AC for the next season, I will wait for the winter to come in, so that there is a pricing advantage that I will get. Okay, so India is heavily dominated by pricing.
Yeah.
In India, for a 10 rupee soap, you will have a multi-million-dollar film star's face on that.
Yes.
It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world, because the price point is so low. You have to push the products combine that with the festivity. But then is that the right way? Again, the question is largely for those companies, because that's their business model.
Yeah.
They want to dump the business volumes. And in a very sloppy regulatory environment, it works. Likewise, if I give you an example of Johnson & Johnson, the best company in the world that follows brand protocol, Indian companies would not even have heard of what a brand protocol is. They have a brand police team.
Yeah.
So what it does is they check on the shelves about the products that are near expiry products. Do you know India is among the biggest markets in the world for near expiry and expired goods? So what happens is that people from the heartland, they come into the cities, they buy these near expiry products, change the packaging and resell them, because there is hardly any quality control. You won't have that situation anywhere else.
Yeah. Got it. So so talking about the advertising, where can we lead it to for the festive marketing particularly? Does it always have to play on the family emotions or maybe the togetherness? Or is there, like, according to you, what could be the other way to look at it?
See, it is always, family is only a face for emotions. So ultimately you're selling emotions.
Yes.
We are in the business of selling emotions, buying and selling emotions. Children play a very important role. Pesta Power plays a very important role even for automobiles, even for paints. People buy certain products because children relate to those products. For example, my daughter, she will always be comfortable with a Scorpio. She would not want to settle for anybody. She doesn't know how to drive, and because that's the car that she relates to. So likewise, children, women and emotions, they're always at the forefront. It is never the value of the product.
Okay.
So I think I really wish if that should change, that would really create a very stable economy, which is why most of our products are not globally acceptable. Most of our FMCG verticals, they fail globally. It is embarrassing. Here we talk of so many, we talk of made in India and all of that, the big economy. Take the same product line elsewhere. It fails miserably. People have no trust on Indian brands. Unless it is herbal category, which is where you will see companies like Bajaj, Dabur, they do phenomenally well, but in the oil category, not in any other category. They will do very well in the hair oil category. Because traditionally, we are the ones who consume hair oil. Europeans don't have hair oil culture. Americans don't have hair oil culture. Okay, Middle Eastern people, they don't have hair oil culture. At the most, in certain pockets, they'll use hammam zait or they will use an olive oil. But traditionally, they don't. So there are certain niches for Indian products. But broadly, Indian FMCG, the personal care products miserably fail globally.
Okay. And how do you see with AI coming into the picture, content creation has become so much easy. How would it affect festive marketing particularly? Do you still think that the brand still need a human touch, or AI could solve the budget problems and maybe deliver a kind of campaigns in a very...
No, actually, it's right now what is happening is that everybody is so excited by AI that they don't understand AI doesn't come free.
Yes.
Okay. And somebody has to manage AI. That talent doesn't come free. Okay. So all of that,
the question is the talent is still here in India.
The ultimate analysis is that balance sheet. So when you see what it might give you efficiency, but to have an efficient tool, you need an efficient person. Do you have that efficient person? No. So traditionally, unless we reach that stage where there is one person and a system that works so efficiently, seamlessly across the board, that is not going to happen. So you will have these technical pipelines catering to certain products, and you will create a new set of people, a new set of talent, and a new way of doing business. So today, if you see AI-driven products, you see a bit of an artificiality. Okay. Now the systems are also evolving. I'm sure maybe in next 2 to 3 years, that gap will be filled. Right? We have seen in the past, if you remember films like 300. That was the first experiment in the world cinema where a film mostly was made on the edit table. The first 300, that was the first experiment in the world. So we have come so far, and see the quality that they had that time also. 300 was a brilliantly made in terms of production values. So likewise here also, of course, you will be able to do multiple things because agencies traditionally take time. But are you saying that advertising agencies are not sure? They know that they will have to change, otherwise they will die. The whole business of advertising is going to die if they don't change. If they don't change, yes, of course, then there is a problem. But will they not change? I doubt.
Because you mentioned this, one of my friends work in an advertising agency, and what he told me that there was a creative idea that they present during the Women's World Cup, and what brand decided that rather than putting that money on a production side, put that money on a media vehicle and use the AI form of it to present it. But how do you see that? Because at that, the creativity, at this moment, the AI is not substantial enough to maybe deliver the creativity. But brands are putting that same money into the media vehicle.
No, AI is fairly, it's just the lack of talent that we have. So we still do not see, most of us still use AI as we use Google.
Yes.
But it's a brain, it's an engine.
Yeah.
Unless you know what to do with the brain, it's not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
And in terms of production, I think AI in advertising, in marketing, the biggest revolution will be supplementing production through AI.
Yeah.
Somebody has to tell the AI to follow a certain creative path. I have seen debacles. There are people who are not careful. You will see a hand with 6 fingers.
Yes.
You will see two eyelashes.
Yeah.
You will see 2 pupils. So it's not that easy. Production, yes, it is going to be a big game changer.
Yeah.
But haven't we seen changes in production? Haven't we seen the use of the way chroma comes in, the way various softwares today are used to create artificial studios? They were not there earlier. The way we create voices, the way dubbing happens. Imagine the way editing happens from scissors to nearly seamless editing. I think evolution is a part of human journey.
Yeah.
People have to keep up. It's just like saying that, accounting changed because, calculators came in. Did anything happen? No. Everything has remained the same. It is newer talent, newer way of doing business will replace the older one.
Okay.
So, yes, of course, the challenge will always be that companies and people will have to continuously upgrade themselves.
Yeah. Got it. Just last question, I just want to understand, if you have to give one tip to marketers who are probably launching their festive campaign this year, what would be that tip according to your experience?
I think I don't need to give them the tip. The biggest failures that Indian companies have is simply because, you want to put somebody's face and the pricing to sell a product. That's not marketing. If I have to discount my brand, then what's the value of my product?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a Mercedes or a Ferrari saying that, because of Diwali, I'm going to give you a few lakh rupees off?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. So I think that's where
but isn't that a luxury product? They are not.
Everything is a luxury.
Yeah.
What is not a luxury? Now, for example, in my childhood, we would use one particular soap. Today, we use 20, but the price still is within the same thing.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, the choice is the luxury. That if people were using a hammam earlier in the 70s, today they have 20 brands to choose from. That is a luxury.
Yeah.
But then which brand are they using? Today, people are not using hammam for bathing. Are they? No. But there was a time people would use hammam or a life buoy for bathing, which traditionally you use for cattle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how Indians would have the experience. Today, you have a Dow, you have so many brilliant brands that are out there. But take the same composition, put it in the international market, you have a blacklist.
Yeah.
So people should focus on creating a good product.
Sure.
And India is so many countries put together.
Yeah.
If you have a good product, Body Shop is an ideal example. You'll never see an ad. Have you ever seen an ad? Have you ever seen a campaign? No, it works because they say word of mouth. People who buy Body Shop, they only buy Body Shop. You don't see any advertising people, and the cost differential is massive.
Yeah.
A shampoo that will cost you 100 rupees here, the same shampoo will cost you 4,000 rupees there. Why? Dead Sea products. The cheapest soap in Dead Sea product will be 800 bucks. Here we are buying 10 rupee soaps, but people buy that. Those are billionaire companies. Those are iconic companies. Almost all the royalty in the world and the entire Hollywood only uses, most of them overwhelmingly use only Dead Sea products. They don't use these traditional chemical products. So there will always be the choices. Why do you want to sell 1,000 pieces for 10 rupees when you can sell 10 pieces for 100 rupees? Ultimately, it is the kind of business model that you want to follow. We always sell pan masala also. Put some film stars together and, a product that costs you 25 rupees is being sold for 50 rupees. Yeah. But then is that a product?
Yeah.
Is that a product? I mean, it's harming you. So, we have enough examples where we have these dual standards, which ultimately these are very tactical ways of doing business.
Okay. Sure. Thank you so much for your time. I think it was really nice talking to you. And thank you so much, viewers, as well, for listening to this conversation. We will be coming back with the next episode of Festive series. Till then, stay tuned and subscribe to BrandCommunion. Thank you so much.